This is Brett Clay, and I'm here at the first stop on Windows Azure Platform University tour. I'm here with Neil Workman from Fujitsu. How are you doing, Neil?
I'm very well indeed. Thanks for having me.
So tell us about your role at Fujitsu.
I'm a principal consultant with Fujitsu Consulting, and I work primarily in our strategy and enterprise architecture practice. So I guess on a day-to-day basis, it's assisting clients in business and IT strategies, enterprise architectures, where I personally concentrate on the business domain, and also, which is related to ourselves here, I also, for consulting, assist nationally in cloud computing, and globally I help with total cost of ownership assessments.
Excellent. So in our conversations today, it's very clear that you have a business focus and not a technology or a transaction focus.
Yes.
In fact, you were telling me before we got online here that you actually use the VAL IT framework from the IT Governance Institute.
That's right.
In some of your, the way that you go to market and you sell these services you were talking about and these business transformation.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you sell value, how you use that, and why you do that instead of just being more transaction focused?
I suppose at the end of the day, we try and do, I'll break that down into two components. One is that when we talk to the IT side of the house, we're often finding that, and this is a classic dilemma that IT's faced for, I guess, the last 10 years, which is how do I provide value back to the business?
Right.
So when we have that conversation with IT, what we want to be able to do is enable those valuable conversations with the business and show that they are obviously aligning to the ultimate strategic objectives of the enterprise. So that's one way that we start to change the mindset in IT to a value conversation. The other one is when we come in from the business side, we talk very much about, okay, let's just really concentrate on those business objectives and look at value, or sorry, IT just merely as an enabler. So we cover it from two angles. It's either IT talking to the business and enabling that conversation, or the business, I guess, controlling IT a little bit or more governed and to get the end results.
So it sounds like in both cases, it's really about meeting the business objectives of the line of business or the overall business. And you can either enable IT to do that or enable the business to call on IT to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also recognizing, I suppose, the capabilities that exist already in the organization and those that are obviously missing. And so helping to fill in, or I guess fill those gaps or understand those capability gaps. And it can work on multiple levels, so whether that be at a business unit level, and having an understanding of that business unit's or that business unit's plan and how that relates to the strategic objectives of the organization, or an enterprise in totality. So when we're talking at CX level about what are some of the enablement requirements here, and that can be, we break that down by business, process, technology, organizational, people, and then extended stakeholders as well, which includes providers and suppliers and so forth.
So what's the benefit of selling this way when you're talking about business objectives?
I suppose that when we concentrate on the business, it's the ultimate conversation, I guess, that the organization is adherent to. So it's not about any one element within an organization. We're trying to talk at that level that's holistic to the entire enterprise or the organization. So it's not fiefdoms or small areas of advantage within an organization. It's actually talking about how can I either, in that, as I said, that conversation with IT back to the business, how can I show my benefit to the whole organization? Or equally, when we talk to the business, it's about things that aren't distinct or discrete. It's about what can I do to leverage best advantage across the whole organization. So that's where that helps.
So do you think that differentiates you as a service provider, as a vendor?
Obviously, we'd like to think so. I think you'll see that there are many, a lot of the top end, I guess, IT vendors or service vendors certainly do have discrete consulting arms within them. Obviously, I can mention some names that everyone recognizes. I think I'm certainly starting to see far more in the market coming up against, I guess, what we would call classic management consultancy practices within IT firms, who are striving to have those business conversations with their clients and recognizing the benefit. As we often talking about we talk to the IT side of the house and how do we expand that conversation to the other side of the house has always been a little bit of a challenge, and we're very much from our strategy and enterprise architecture working on that side and playing both sides. So it's not there yet, but we're certainly doing it, and we're seeing a lot more of IT firms doing the same thing.
So definitely having these business conversations, I can totally. This is what I preach as well. Identify the value, deliver the value, rather than talk about problems and deliver solutions. The question is, when you've identified these business objectives with the customer, and you've talked about maybe some capabilities that would be required to deliver those business objectives. Is there any kind of change that's required in their business or along the way to make that happen? There's got to be a change process in there if you're doing something different to meet those objectives, right?
Yeah, and again, actually this one's, I would probably say, agnostic of whether you're coming in from the business angle or the IT angle, and that is that companies in general, I'd say 70% of them don't handle business transformational change well.
Say that again, 70%?
I'd say of my clients,
of your clients,
more I've recognized wouldn't have a good handle on business transformational change. Yeah, so somewhere along that journey or that process, they're falling into some of the old traps. So I think the evolution of business transformation, I think in general there are definitely capabilities and processes and methodologies out there that have definitely evolved to become quite sophisticated and have proven their worth. The adoption of those within large organizations is still pretty lagging. And I think that may be partly to do with, perhaps legacy, the SDLC or waterfall approaches. And I've just had a client recently who's doing through a major IT application purchase and delivery to the organization. An application is absolutely at the core of their operational functions. They were talking about doing training on it about 3 months before it was launched in a 3-year cycle. And we pointed out to them, we're at the beginning of that journey. We're only in the first year of this, and we said that may not be advisable. We're going to take a guess here, that'll probably fail from a change perspective. So, we're still coming up against that all the time. So change really, I think, is a mentality, and it's actually a very difficult one to change that mindset, actually.
So is that something that you find as a capability you have to provide to your clients, or service you provide, is helping shepherd them, if you will, through those changes?
Yeah, absolutely that. And it starts with that. We would obviously go in there first doing a business change readiness assessment, which again, we follow that structured piece around business, technology, organization, people, process, etc. And then all of the stakeholders who would be impacted, and understanding about, okay, not only what is the change, how is it going to affect them, etc. And we then develop full business transformation strategies that are explicit to each of those readiness or stakeholder areas. And then we do, and that comes with all the gamut of range of things around communications and training, etc. And then we start to develop that and roll it out to clients. So it is very much a guiding process for them. But again, plenty of case studies proven that if it's done right, some of even the biggest and painful changes can be managed correctly. So
yeah, absolutely. It's all about the process.
Absolutely.
So another couple of questions I always ask everyone on the Actuation Zone here is, can you tell me one change you're seeing? And I'd be really interested, as an American here in Australia, what's a change that you think might be unique to the Australian market that you're seeing these days? And what's the opportunity that comes from that change?
One change I'm seeing is unique to the Australian market. I don't know if it's something that's, well, I'd say it is unique to the Australian market, but it's a little agnostic, the response, which is we tend to find, whether it's because of our location or because of, I guess, the natural temperament of the people here, but there is very much a better appetite, I think, for innovation and not bleeding edge, but certainly edge technologies, and a willingness to adopt. So we see a lot more people playing in fields that we may not ordinarily. I'm originally from Europe, and I see a little bit more reserved. There's certainly a lot of early followers there rather than early adopters, and I think certainly there's a mindset in Australia of give it a go. Equally, that could be on Australian-based companies, but particularly those global companies with an Australian footprint like to test it out in Australia. It's a unique zone in the fact that it has a really nice split between some of the European attributes and the US attributes. So for global companies, it's a really good testing ground. So I think both by legacy of that or by proxy of that and just I think the general temperament here, you see a far more willing to give it a go. So we're seeing, again, I'm expecting great things in cloud computing here in Asia Pacific. I think Australia certainly is leading the way.
Excellent. Could you give me another question I ask is what are three, if you could name three recommendations that peers in the industry could make to be more successful selling today? What three things would come to mind?
I think, and look, I'm going to be...
Just step over here. I just don't want to lose you off the camera.
That's right. I think I'd probably be, if I was talking from a personal perspective, which may not be the company line, it'd certainly be, I've come from the research industry, and I find that something that's always worked and continues to do so is, I guess, agnosticism around particular solutions.
Okay.
I feel that you want to get to that trusted advisor space. I find that agnosticism allows you to create advocacy by saying, yes, this solution or this option may be appropriate for you, but equally here's one over here that isn't with the company I'm with, and I think that would also help. So that ability to stretch across those things, I think, is a huge advantage, and I've seen time and time again being able to provide, or even if I can't provide a solution, pointing a customer in a direction that gets them their solution and meet their objectives, they'll come back again. So I'm a huge believer in advocacy and through that way. So that's the first one, I think, agnosticism. The second, I guess, is listening. So we talk about of that solution or what the result is. I tend to find people are often too quick to go down to the end game rather than let's just walk through the journey. You mentioned earlier about what have been roadblocks in the past, or what have deflectors of change. You don't really know that until you listen to a customer and understand. Rather than going straight to an endpoint, have an understanding of what some of the challenges that they have in front of them. I guess this is a classic consulting piece. And the third bit, have fun on the way. If it's not an enjoyable journey, I know it's a pretty poor third choice, but yeah, enjoy it, soak it up, and understand what's around you, what your clients are talking about, and just good old customer experience, really building those kind of advocacy points.
Well, definitely positive mental attitude is job one as a salesperson, or as a consultant, or as a counselor, which is the role that you're playing.
Yeah, well, that might be the third one, which is actually don't limit yourself to the possibilities. I mean, the key is here, I think, I know it's cliche, but out-of-the-box thinking, but that kind of innovation drive is, although it might not be, again, and that actually feeds from number two, which is if you go straight to an endpoint, you may be limited. If you think about when we work in strategy, we talk about minimum 5 years, so don't be limited about today. We know that there, in some cases, we may give recommendations, year 1, 2, 3. After year 3, something might not be quite there yet that can deliver that solution, or what the business objective is. Have faith, it'll be there. It could be a 5 or it could be a 10-year journey, but if we're going in the right direction, those things will be there. So, yeah, don't be limited by today's possibilities.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for your time. Your insights were great, Neil. Thank you very much.
Thanks.